everyone, it is I, Envy, and well, let's just say this video is gonna be made for different reasons. Well, one, this one was actually requested, and of course, it's a certain fan who pretty much is a fan of yours truly. And well, sorry this one got a little bit hauled up. Just that things were going on, so yeah, don't ask, okay? And secondly, I do hope that you're not really offended about me and lust pretty much being a thing. So, yeah. This is pretty much gonna be that, so. Without further ado, I present to you Intangible. You sure that's how it's pronounced? I don't know. Some of these writings just doesn't really seem familiar with me. Or is that you just can't really misread things? Yeah, as he said, this is going to be a lust and envy story, and this one was made by Karina. I'm sure you probably know her for probably most of her FMA videos. So yeah, sorry if I was a little delay on this, but don't worry, this one is definitely going to be made up. Makeup. So yeah, let's get to it. Summary. A thought keeps crossing my mind and it won't leave me alone. Envy. Do you think it's possible for a homunculus to fall in love? She pretty much expected Envy to laugh or mock her question, but he looked more surprised than ever at it. She was astonished when he didn't. Of a true romance scene? Hope this turns out fine. Well, okay. Here we go. For lust, love was something she and the other homunculi had always looked down on. Huh, just like Conquered Storm. It was just something that human used as an excuse to commit some of the worst and most depraved antics in the world. It was something she had always prided herself on. Well, her name is Lust for a reason. At least she and her fellow homunculi didn't have to cover up their reasoning with emotion. Sure, all of them have been made from human sin, did undoubtedly desire some physical contact every now and then, but it wasn't on the top of their mind, and they had grown used to putting distance between themselves and others. Of course, upon regaining her memories, as Envy had suggested against, things had become more painful. I'm guessing this is 03, because, well, they're indicating memories and that the homunculi basically are just trying to distance themselves from the humans or something like that. It's something like that. Because Brotherhood, the homunculi, they're just pretty much making them full on evil. Some of them. But you get what I'm trying to say? Anyways, but at some point, she didn't even remember when, something changed. It came to Envy. Lust began to find herself seeing him in a different light than she ever had before. His usual form wasn't ever something she had ever found particularly unattractive per se. But now she had began finding herself sneaking glances at his body and facial features. I mean, can't blame her. I mean, Envy is definitely hot in his own way. I mean, seriously, he's a lot more attractive than Ed and Roy. That's just what I'm saying. Oh man, if anything, I think others would be jealous of him. Oh boy. Anyways, his personality had always been a bit alluring to her, but that too began to become unignorable. and she started finding herself just thinking about him in inappropriate, opportune moments, or whenever she was pondering things that were completely different. And she knew that it couldn't just be simple lust she was feeling, because, contrary to her name, she had never truly lusted after anybody. That is true. She only lusted after knowledge. So yeah, that's actually cool. It was always the other way around. Sure, she had seduced humans to do her bidding before. More than once, in fact. But she never was attracted to any of them by any means. Yeah, she rather focuses on her work and that. So yeah. And she had no reason to try to manipulate Envy sexually. Yeah, I see. Yeah, I kind of see them working out just fine. So why was she feeling this way? I guess when you actually work with someone for so long or something, you kind of pretty much start to. Maybe there's something more you guys could do. Or something like that. Ugh. I don't know where I was trying to go with that, but if you guys can figure it out, then feel free to leave a comment below. Why did she desire his company so strongly as of late? And even if she wasn't with him sexually or romantically, she just wanted to be around him more than she ever wanted to be around anybody else. She didn't understand what she was feeling, and she would be lying if she said it didn't scare her. For some reason, she didn't like the way it was making her feel. Oh boy. The pum 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 pum. Just saying. And so she tried to push back the feelings even more and ignore them by avoiding interaction with Envy as much as possible. Of course, this only made things harder to bear. And it wasn't like Envy didn't notice. Envy was obviously becoming uncomfortable with her growing silence around him. She didn't respond as much when he made comments about humans being selfish or weak, and he wanted, more than anything, to know why. Out of any homunculus, Lust was easily the one he really got along with. That is true, because in the show and kind of the recent movie, you kind of pretty much see that those two actually have a deep connection with each other, or at least a partnership in a way. But you can pretty much tell that those two pretty much have something going on. Not a romantic way, but you kind of get what I'm trying to say. More importantly, that really regul regulate, I don't know what that word is, him and helped him feel at ease. But when he questioned her on her silence, she claimed it was nothing. At some point, she just stopped asking. He stopped asking, my bad! And she pulled away completely, except when they had orders they were supposed to carry out on. Before leaving right after. Until one day he got tired of it. Her treatment of him had made Envy realize just how much he enjoyed being around her. And more than anything, he wanted to be by her side again. He had always loved Lust's companionship, and he couldn't stand the awkward mess it had become as of late. I gotta admit, there is a bit of spelling errors, but I gotta say, so far it actually is actually nice. And you don't really see much of this shipping, to be honest. It's actually one of the lowest pairings you actually get. I mean, one of the most popular ones is Edwin. Don't take offense to that, guys. Please. Anyways, the distance between them that Lust kept forking at him also made him realize something else. He wanted to hold her. He never wanted to become any more distant than they already had. He didn't he didn't really understand it, though, and didn't want to admit it aloud. But he knew he would go crazy if something wasn't settled. Yeah, because if you must realize something, whenever Envy kind of gets a little bit pretty moody, as in bad kind of mood, Lust would be there to calm him down. Because in actuality, they really work off each other really well. I guess you could say sometimes opposites attract. He already had enough things in his life that were frustrating him. So when she tried to leave, he reached down and grabbed her arm, stopping her in her tracks. Oh, now they're gonna easily talk. Anyways, wait, Lust, he said. She tensed at the contact, but turned around to face him to see what he had to say. Humming in ignorance. What's with you lately? You barely acknowledge my presence anymore. Envy wanted to know. Lust seemed taken aback by his insistence, but her enjoyment of the physical contact was more than she needed at the moment. On the other hand, she knew she needed to confront this issue or she wouldn't be able to deal with it for much longer. She pulled away, averting her gaze. She was about to speak, but Envy beat her to it. I don't know what's going on between us anymore, and none of the other homunculi are as easy to get along with and tolerating as you are. Pride keeps forcing his arrogance and superiority complex on me. We are no closer to finding that jerk Hohenheim. And I've been going insane because of you and your damn silence. That was kind of a mixture between O3 envy and Brotherhood envy. Oh man. Then again, they're voiced by the same person, so I guess it is kind of a bit of a nice connection. Les was taken aback by his words. The question had been lingering in her head for a while. She needed to know. A thought keeps crossing my mind, and it won't leave me alone, she said, before looking up again and straight into his eyes. Her hair started to blow. Envy, do you think it's possible for a homunculus to fall in love? She pretty much expected Envy to laugh or mock her question, but he looked more surprised than ever at it. She was astonished when he didn't. Is that why you've been so silent around me? He asked. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. Lust asking the question that he'd always wanted to deep down, but was always too cocky and hesitant to do so. And love had always felt like a disgusting term for him to use. But hearing Lust say it somehow gave it a whole new meaning he had never considered before. Yeah, because, well, honestly, I've actually heard from the videos that Karina basically made. Envy would be more naive to lust. I mean, love. Yeah, he'd be pretty much inexperienced on knowing what it is, and he doesn't really understand it. So yeah, he'd be pretty naive to it. Or something like that. That's just what I get. Love had always been labeled intangible and impossible for homunculi to feel, since they were supposed to have no soul. But the recurring thought had some point popped up in his mind. and he began to see Lust in a different light than usual. She had always been, without a doubt, attractive to him. But as of late, her body to him was more stunning than ever. Yeah, he'd probably be a bit jealous of that. If he was being honest, she looked like a I I don't know what to say about that word. And considering that she was the only person he could ever truly get along at points, the only person that really understood him, and the only person that he could say without a doubt he didn't want to lose. He truly did wonder if it is possible that he had actually fallen for her. Answer the question, Envy. Les couldn't believe it. But tears were forming in her eyes, causing her to feel worse than ever. I need to know that I'm not crazy for feeling this way. Before she could finish her sentence, Envy's lips were, which were softer than she had ever expected, met with hers, cutting her off. Oh, Envy, slick move, man. Sure, he may not understand it, but I'm pretty sure he has seen this kind of stuff before. So, yeah. When her eyes widened, Envy couldn't believe what he had just done, and half expected her to slap him, which she would have full right to do. But he was taken aback when she didn't pull away, and instead closed her eyes, wrapping her arms around his neck, pulling him close to deepen in the kiss. Envy closed his eyes and moaned a bit in pleasure when he was suddenly pushed back against the wall. Yeah, homunculi, they definitely have questionable strength, but it definitely is supernatural, you could say, by the other. If it had been anybody else, Envy wouldn't be taking it, but given that this was Lust, he didn't mind being dominated by her at all, because honestly, I think they actually just share and take turns. That's what I think the relationship could be like. In fact, not that he would mind it, Lust secretly a fancy nature beneath her usual calm and level-headed outside was most certainly a turn-on. All the primal urges they had been holding back were showing with each slash of their tongues, and every hot breath moan. Okay, this is starting to get steamy, I'd say. But then again, it's just them making out, nothing else. Seriously, guys, it's just them making out. But describing this definitely is kind of interesting. As Envy kept trailing his hands down her body, and she didn't seem to mind at all. In fact, craving his touch. For both of them, it was like if they had let go of each other, they would never have this chance again. Finally, they were unable to breathe. I guess it must have been like a few hours. They parted and strained saliva between them. Regaining her breath, Lust allowed her to slide down to the ground, and after a second, Envy followed her. Resting his head on her chest, listened to her heartbeat, which was beating incredibly fast. When Lust reached up, caressing his hair, Envy must have soft hair. I mean, seriously, sure, it looks wild, but I bet he has soft hair. He was briefly reminded of being held as a human baby by Dante. Awkward of stating it like that. The fact that it's Dante you just mentioned. One of the only pleasant memories he had with her. He breathed out the tears gathering in his eyes. Oh, Envy! Oh, I guess he's pretty much starting to feel different emotions. But seriously, Envy, good for you. It's okay. You don't have to be ashamed about crying. If you're basically feeling comfortable with that person, then feel free to. He wasn't usually the type to cry, as it was yet another sign of being weak. But now the thought couldn't be ignored. He was the type that acted before thinking half of the time. So he didn't know what had overcome him. What overcame him? Could he be in love with lust? That wasn't supposed to be. Envy? Lust ignored in something that mimicked concern when Envy's body began to shake in her grasp. She had never once in her life seen Envy cry, but here he was in her arms doing just that. What the hell if we become lust? This isn't us. We can't let these filthy human desires and feelings ruin us. Homunculi aren't supposed to feel anything. We aren't supposed to love. What the hell is wrong with me? Did I do a good job at Envy's voice cracking? Because that's literally what's supposed to be going on. As he felt his composure slipping further and further, he began to feel even more ashamed than ever for having such feelings that he had always tried to pride himself in being above. On top of that, his life past was a complete mess and wasn't something he liked thinking about or ever wanted her to find out about the gritty details of. Which was why he lied to her about not remembering his original form. Yeah, if I recall, if Envy stated that he doesn't remember, I guess it's because it hurts him. He doesn't want to remember his old life because of that. Yeah, if a homunculus remembers their past life, I guess it's sort of like a way it hurts them. And that they don't want to pretty much remember them. I can understand why. Because he wanted to keep things simple between them. But he realized that right now it was more complicated than it had ever been. He was afraid of leaving her. But, okay, he was afraid of her leaving him. Yeah, Envy has abandonment issues, if you guys probably don't recall or don't remember. Just poor thing. But at the same time, he was afraid of what could happen if he got too attached to her and she would found out something he didn't want her to. I've considered it numerous times before. Les suddenly said after a moment of silence, catching his attention. Envy lifted his head ever so slightly and hearing her words before she continued. But perhaps we homunculi are capable of love. And the ones who say otherwise are wrong. Oh. Am I the only one who's finding this moment sweet? Because I see it. Envy had always deeply admired Lust. She had always been level-headed and racial, but never held back when it came down to it. And if it hadn't been for her posing one of the many forbidden questions among the homunculi, he would never acted on his feelings. Yet he didn't even know if that was a good thing at this point, considering how it was destroying him emotionally at the moment. Yeah, considering that if one little bit of emotion triggers within Envy, he becomes a crumbling mess. Yeah, pretty sure that in 03 he pretty much has that, but in Brotherhood, he's very expressive. Even if slightly it's a facade, you can pretty much tell he's really good at that. Seriously, how come all the homunculi, he's basically the one who's overly showing emotion? Maybe that's just me. Anyways, so thoroughly homunculi are just like humans by nature. Then he felt sick after saying that. So it seems. Les said simply, wiping the tears that profoundly fell from Envy's eyes. Of course, at hearing that the tears in Envy's eyes only began to run harder. What a load. He cracked an uncharacteristic smirk, laughing a bit. We're such a damn mess. Okay, and that's the end. An author's note. I don't know if I should continue this. I would probably ruin the story if it did, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. Well, I certainly did. This was really nice of a read. And I'm sorry if I kind of messed up on a few words, guys. I'm sorry. And some words I just kind of mixed a bit because I just don't feel right about saying those. That's just me. But anyways, I think it's nice to see that there's a story based on envy and lust, how they're basically having desires to be with each other, yet they know that they are homunculi and they pretty much believe that they are incapable of that, so they try to keep themselves in check, but keeping those bottled for so long is not healthy, and thus they basically had the chance, and it basically was, you could say, relief. So yeah, you could say that they're closer than ever. And also, the fact that I think what I like most is when Envy basically let loose those much bitter emotions of sadness and less is there to comfort him. I think that was relatively a sweet moment. So yeah, Karina, if you basically decided to do another, feel free to because I really would like to see what you'll come up with for this. And anyways, this is Ashley and I'll see y'all later. Bye bye.